I want to look at the book of Galatians. And we're going to the 5th chapter. And we're going to read V. Yeah. Would you turn that fan a little bit more on Carinell, not and off. Just turn it, yeah. Five. Verses 22 and 23.
All right.
Everybody together? This is what it says. It says, but, when it said but, that meant something came before that. Says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love. Is that what it said?
That's what it says.
Now, before I get started, I want to tell you that says fruit, not fruits. Y'all see that? Fruit. One fruit. Fruit of the Spirit. We're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. Okay? Love, joy, peace, long suffering,
yes, sir.
Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance, or self-control. Y'all listening to me? Yeah. Y'all listening to me? I got one more to read. It's over in Proverbs 25 and 28.
All right.
Everybody got it? This thing beat me up so bad, I had to let it beat up on y'all a little bit. I didn't want to take that whooping all by myself. Y'all got it? Everybody got it? Got it, y'all? You got it, Susie? You got all your technology and all your megabytes in a row and all kinds of stuff, huh? You got all your Wi-Fi hooked up and it's funny, in Bible study we have some folk that use their Bibles and other folk use their cell phone. They use their cell phone. And the folk with the Bibles find their scriptures first. Folk who got their cell phones be still, we be done read the scripture and then they explained half of it and they still, yeah. Folk in Bible. And ain't nothing wrong with technology. Ain't nothing wrong with technology. That's right. But don't let technology take away from what is common sense. Y'all listening?
Yeah.
That makes sense because I got mine here. I got mine. I call it up in a minute. I call and talk to Siri in a minute about stuff. But I ain't going to let the cell phone or the computer take the place of my personal way to speak with God that I have grown up with and learned with. Now, listen, in 25, 28, everybody got it now. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. Yeah, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? And I want to use for a subject this morning, and we can sit down. Who's in control?
Yes, sir.
Who's in control? Who's in control? First of all, in our text, there are, in Galatians, is a ninefold reference of what the Word calls the fruit of the Spirit. Yes. If you count them, all of them, love, joy, peace, all of them, you'll end up with 9. 9 of them. And by way of introduction, isn't it somewhat strange that the first 8 of the fruit of the Spirit are subjects that we hear much about, especially in the Christian community?
Okay. Come on, Rev.
Now, y'all real quiet. Let me explain what I mean. We come to church, and all the time at church, we hear something about the first one, love.
Yeah. Amen.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all come on, talk to you. You may well, because I ain't going to get no shorter. I mean, with my sermon, I ain't talking about in height. Hopefully I won't get no shorter, because I'm not worried about my height. Folks saying something about my height when I was at the wire. I told her, I said, whatever I lack in height, I always make up for it in fervent heat.
Come on.
She got it. JT got it. JT heard it. Yeah. We always hear about love, don't we? Somebody say something about the love of God, don't they? Love. God so loved. Oh, the Lord loves me. And so, oh, how I love. We hear about love all the time, don't we? Look, and folk are always talking about peace.
All right.
Hear that always. You don't hear too much about this next one, but you hear about it. It's patience. Long suffering. That's what it's long suffering.
Yeah.
Patience. Folk, Lord, give me some patience to deal with these kids. Or with my husband, or with my wife, or whatever. We need some patience, we hear.
Okay.
Don't we? Don't we? Don't we? We hear it. Then we talk about gentleness. That's kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Kindness. We hear about that. And then we hear about goodness, that kind of goodness that exceeds just that kind of goodness of knowing somebody and doing a good deed every now and then. But that goodness like God's goodness.
Come on.
And y'all know we always hear and talk about faith.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
That's right.
We always hear folk talking about faith. And we really want to get tough. We say, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Don't we?
Yeah.
Here by faith. Abraham, by faith, went into a country that he knew not of, but God had told him to go. Faith. We hear about faith, don't we? Yeah. And then we hear about meekness. Yeah. Humility. or whatever. We need to be more humble and stuff. We always hear about those first 8, don't we?
All right.
But the 9th fruit, which is self-control.
Yeah. All right.
Isn't it strange that we hear very little about self-control?
All right. Come on, Rev.
Anybody listening to me?
Yes, sir.
And the question is, why? Because we just read it, that self-control is as much a fruit of the Spirit as are the first 8,
All right.
which starts with love.
Okay.
You don't have preachers preaching much about self-control. I don't mean ever, but every now and then they might.
All right.
Y'all come on, talk to me.
Come on.
You don't hear too much about it in Bible studies and stuff like that, and about self-control. And the question is, why? Why don't we hear about self-control?
Good question.
What is self-control?
Well, all right.
What is it? What is it? What is it? Well, the Greek word for self-control is ekrastia, which simply means what we already have in the King James Version. It means temperance. Yeah, I got to spell it, but it ain't going to get no better, D. I'm going to spell it for you. I'm going to spell it for you, but it ain't going to get no better. You better off like you are right now, not knowing it. It spells E-G-K-R-A-T-E-I-A. Whatever. That's it.
What you call it? Yeah.
I tell you, you wasn't gonna be no better off when I got through spelling it. I know I wasn't. Yeah, it's a lot easier just to say temperance. Y'all with me? Or self-control. Let me tell you what temperance is, or self-control is. Temperance is the virtue of one who masters his own desires and his own passions.
Okay.
Y'all listening to me?
His own desires, huh?
It is the ability to control one's emotions and behaviors in the face of temptation and fierce impulses.
Okay.
Maybe that's why we don't hear much about it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Maybe. That's why we don't hear much about self-control. But by the same token, and I'm almost through, maybe that's why we ought to know something about self-control.
What you say? What you say?
Now, I don't want everybody to think I'm talking about y'all by yourself.
Come on, Fred.
Matter of fact, when I started doing this, I was the one I was thinking about.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Come on.
Continue all of that.
All right.
Because I figured y'all had all this stuff down pat. I figured y'all had already mastered all of this stuff.
No, sir. I don't even know what you're talking about. Come on.
But maybe that's why we ought to know something about self-control. Because over in Proverbs Solomon tells us something that is pretty disturbing.
Yes, he does. Come on.
What we can do?
Come on.
What we can do?
What's that disturbing stuff, boy?
And obviously, he had a problem
What's self-control? Come on.
in order to be able to talk about it.
Come on, friend. Come on. Come on. That's the only
Y'all come on here. And obviously, the folk who he served with over
Yeah.
had the same problem. And after he studied it, and after he had been a victim of it himself,
All right.
Spirit hit.
he said these words: he that hath no rule over his own spirit
Boy.
is like a city that is broken down without walls. Y'all ain't listening.
Yeah. He ain't got no temper. Come on. He ain't got no self-control.
No self. How many of y'all know all of life is about balance?
Come on, boy. Amen.
Even sin is a part of that balanced equation.
Come on now.
See? Because all sin is something that God has already given us that we have taken the liberty to put it out of balance. The scripture tells us there ain't nothing wrong with sex.
Yeah. What you say? What you say now?
It's when it's out of balance.
Yeah.
Are y'all listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's when we start going into these other areas that God didn't say anything about here as being acceptable in his sight.
All right.
Yeah. That's what it is. Life out of balance. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down without walls. And when I go to my seat, I'm on my way here through because we working on this too also in Bible study.
Okay.
And it's also directly tied to church membership. What is the meaning here of what Solomon is saying? Let's see if we can kind of make it clear and as simplistic as we can, because we could be here all day doing this.
Yes. All right.
When he said what he said, he drew a stark parallel here that if we listen, we'll understand it. You see, because in the ancient days, the cities were always fortified
Hey, come on now. Come on.
by walls.
Yeah. For their protection. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all ain't listening to me.
Yes, sir.
I know y'all want me to hoop or something like that, but y'all may well get that up.
Bring it on, boy.
Yeah. I ain't worried. I long since quit worrying about that. The ancient cities had walls, and those walls were high,
Yes, they were.
and those walls were wide,
Come on, Fred. Come on.
and those walls surrounded the entire city.
Come on.
Y'all listening to me?
Sir.
I understand Nineveh had walls
Well. What you say?
that were high and wide, and they were so wide approximately 49 inches across the top.
Yeah. 4 feet. Come on, yeah.
49 feet, I'm sorry, not inches. Because 3 chariots
Yeah. Right.
could run side by side on top of the wall and never touch each other. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Woo.
How about that?
And if you think that's something, Babylon
Come on.
had walls. And I understand that the wall around Babylon was twice the width on the top as the walls in Nineveh.
Come on.
87 feet
What you say?
across, where 6 chariots
Look out.
could run side by side on top of the wall. And never touch each other. Y'all listening? Those walls were often made of dirt and clay. Y'all listening? And the strongest walls, they always mixed some straw with it. Y'all remember the children of Israel when they were making bricks? In order to make them bricks stronger, they would mix some straw with that mud. And so that's why they were always concerned about floods. See, because when water would come through, it would dissolve the mud, turn those bricks, that clay into mud, and they'd wash away. So they had to put something with it, mix something with it, that when the rains come, the walls would still be standing. You get the picture. The wall was there for their protection. It was twofold, basically. It was designed to keep good stuff in. Y'all ain't listening to me. But I know I'm saying something here, because this beat me up. I ain't going to get beat up by myself. It was designed to keep good stuff on the inside and to keep bad stuff on the outside. Are y'all listening to me? But if there were no walls, then the city could easily be destroyed by the enemy. That makes sense? Proverbs 25:8 is telling us that when we have no self-control, this city, y'all ain't listening to me.
Come on, boy.
This city of body, mind, and spirit.
All right.
Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Is left totally unprotected.
Amen.
Good virtues can get out. You can lose them. And by the same token, bad vices can come in. Anybody here listening? Good habits can just run away, while bad habits just rush in. Y'all ain't listening to me. Y'all ain't listening to me. Listen to me. Good health can slowly slip off. While failing health can come in and take over. And sooner or later, this city of humanity can be broken down, torn up, because there are no walls of self-control. Y'all ain't listening to me. And we need to know something about self-control. You say, well, I'm trying, and I'm not going to go into this now. Say, folks say, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying my very best. That's all right. That's all right. All I'm going to tell you now is that there's a difference between self-discipline and self-control. That's all I'm going to tell you. I ain't going into it. We'll deal with it Wednesday night. There's a difference. Folks say all the time, I discipline myself. There's a lot of disciplined folk that don't know the Lord.
Amen. Come on now. Amen.
You can discipline yourself
Hey, what you say?
and still end up in hell.
Come on, boy. Amen.
Y'all ain't listening
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Solomon said self-control. And when he said self-control, to me that was a problem, because the problem with us is self.
Amen.
How we going?
Yeah. Come on, boy. Come on.
What?
Yeah.
Control self?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. Who said that? Ooh. Yeah. We'll deal with that Wednesday night. Say self is my problem. See, because and we got 3 problems right off the bat. Number 1, we got the devil.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Come on. Yeah.
Y'all ain't listening to me.
Uh-huh.
Number 2, we got the world.
Amen. What you say, boy? Uh-huh.
And number 3, we got flesh.
Oh, man. Come on.
Of which the scripture says that the flesh wars against the spirit.
All right.
And the spirit wars against the flesh. And that these two are contrary to each other. This is why the Apostle Paul said one time, "Oh, wretched man that I am." The good that I want to do, I end up doing something else. Y'all ain't listening to me.
Yeah.
And the stuff I did not intend to do.
That's what you're going to perform myself doing. Come on. Yeah.
That's the very thing that I end up doing. Is there anybody here who knows what I'm talking about?
Come on. Amen.
Paul said, "Who shall deliver me from the body of this death?"
Amen.
We need a wall.
Yeah. Sure enough.
Not no wall of clay
Come on.
and straw. But we need a spiritual wall. God said to the children of Israel over in Isaiah, he said, no longer are you going to have to build walls. He said, I will be your wall.
Amen. What you say?
And if you read that verse, he said, I will be your wall. And because you trust in me. Said, I will give you peace. I will be responsible. Not a wall of clay and mortar. But we need that wall of protection, which we know we need, but can't get it without God.
Yeah. What you say?
Y'all listening to me? So we're dealing with the devil. I'm through here now. Dealing with the world. And we're dealing with self, or the flesh. So the question is, who is in control? Is it me? Or is it God's Spirit controlling me? Which one? Somebody looked up Isaiah 26:1? Anybody? Jarvis got his technology. What does it say, Jarvis? Look at it. Look how quick he goes. Yeah, I don't know what I say. 26:1. What does it say? Read. We have a strong city. He sets up salvation. Read on. As walls and of bulwarks, of reinforcements. Who sets it up? God sets it up. Read on. The righteous who hold on to the faith. Read on. He will keep you, what? We say this scripture all the time. We never know what it's associated with. What is it associated with? Read it, Jarvis. I will keep you in perfect peace. Don't be mixing that all up, Jarvis. You know it all. Read it all together. In what kind of peace? Who? Whose mind is stayed upon him. Why? Read on. He trusts we take him at his word. In him. What does it say? That's good enough. So the Lord is our defense.
Amen.
He is our wall of defense. By his Spirit, we are guided and directed.
Amen.
And so Solomon said those words that he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down. The city that already broke up because it ain't had no walls. So we need God's protection.
Amen.
We need divine walls around us. at all times. Spiritual walls that's high enough that folk can't get over. The flesh can't get over. That the world, the devil, can't get over. And wide enough that they can't come through it. And long enough that they can't come around it. Lord, help us by thy Spirit.